Okay, hi everybody. Back again is Tamara. Back again. Um, so I'm sorry that the previous video, the first video, the introduction that I did with you, was a little bit on the long side. I know it was like 24 minutes. Um, like I said, this hopefully this one and any others will follow. I'll try to make it quicker. So I want to do a little bit of education here. Okay, so first things first. Transgender. What does it mean to be transgender? Okay, a lot of people don't know this, and it goes back to like even back in the 1960s, 70s, where it was, well, it's a choice, just like being gay. It's a choice. You could just choose not to. Um, no. Okay, I'm just going to put that out to you right then. No. Well, you're a man. It's sexually deviant, and you're a man who wants to be with girls and be with women to do unspeakable. No, I'm sorry. That's not a transgender thing. That's a man thing. Okay? Not transgender. Transgender is an identity. Okay? It's an identity, not a choice. Okay? We always say, the community, LGBTQ community, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer. Okay, now queer was something that was like a no-no word to be said, but it has been taken back to mean somebody that is really questioning, somebody that really doesn't understand yet, somebody that doesn't fit into the box. Remember, always keep in mind, our society only has two boxes. Now, the thing is, our human brains, we want to put things in boxes because it's easier to understand. So queer is something that doesn't fit quite into any real box. Okay, so that's queer. But LGBT, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender. Okay, yes, there are a whole lot of others, gender non-conforming and non-binary and pansexual, and they say there's a whole lot of other things out there. I'm only going to focus on what I know best, which is transgender. So, LGBT, again, the T for transgender is an identity. Okay, LGB is lesbian, gay, bisexual. Okay, that's not an identity. Okay, someone who is lesbian, gay, or bisexual, lesbian woman, gay male, or bisexual, either male or female, they look in the mirror and they say, I am a male, or I am a female. Transgender person looks in the mirror and says, wait, something's wrong here. I don't know exactly what I'm looking at. Okay? That's the main difference. To put it very plain and very simply for everybody to grasp, being LGB, lesbian, gay, bisexual, that's who you go to bed with. Okay? I'll say that again. Who you go to bed with. Being transgender is who you go to bed as. So it's an identity issue. Okay, it is not a mental health concern. We're not crazy or whatever because we don't know who we are or what. No, it's an identity issue. Okay, which yes, it does give there's a lot of concerns. Gender dysphoria and gender dysmorphia do have associated with them depression, anxiety, suicidal ideations. Some people have things like that, but a lot of that is also societal because society says, I don't care you're a man in a dress. I don't care you're this. I don't care. And they marginalize. Okay? Instead of actually seeing a human being. Now, to pull it out of this is a choice thing, I'll actually put two links to a couple of research papers in the description down here. One was back in 2009, and I'm looking over here at my notes so I could read it. Luders et al. Both of these are on the NIH website, the National Institute of Health website, that wrote a paper, Regional Gray Matter Variation in Male to Female Transsexualism. These papers show that, or at least give the intonation that, you know what? Maybe it's not a choice. Maybe there's something deeper going on here. Maybe there is a biological component to this. Okay, so Luders et al. Came up with the conclusion that male to female transsexuals, back in the early 2000s, was transsexual, not transgender. Okay, and male to female. I am male to female. I was born as a male. I do have male chromosomes. Versus female to male transgender, which are biological women that take male hormones to become men. There are two different types. Okay, everything that we read in the paper about women being in, men in dresses being in women's bathrooms and men in women's sports. How come nobody talks about women in men's sports? Why is it that it's not okay for your daughter to be in a locker room with a transgender woman, but it's okay for your son to be in a locker room with a transgender man? Point to just think about it a little bit. So, getting back to what I was saying, Luders et al., that male to female transsexuals show a significantly larger volume of regional gray matter, the brain, in the right putamen, compared to men. These findings provide new evidence that transsexualism is associated with distinct cerebral pattern, which supports the assumption that brain anatomy plays a role in gender identity. That was back in 2009. Well, there's not anything that's newer than 2009. Well, Kurth et al., 3 years ago, 2022, brain sex in transgender women is shifted towards gender identity. This is in the Journal of Clinical Medicine. Okay, now listen to this. The observed shift away from a male typical brain anatomy towards a female typical one in people who identify as transgender women suggests a possible underlying neuroanatomical correlate for the female gender identity. That is, all transgender women included in that study were confirmed to be genetic males who had not undergone any gender-affirming hormone therapy. Thus, the transgender women have been subject to the influence of androgens, which is testosterone, male hormones, and grown up in an environment that presumably treated them as males. The combination of male genes, androgens, male hormones, and to some degree male upbringing should ordinarily be expected to result in a male typical brain. Okay, making a female typical brain anatomy extremely unlikely. Yet, the brain anatomy in the current sample, the number of transgender women that were included in this study, is shifted towards the brain anatomy is shifted towards their gender identity. An observation that is at least partly in agreement with previous reports. Okay, now will there be any more? I mean, there are more out there. You can Google to your heart's content. I know I can't stop you from doing that. Okay, but there are more out there, and I'm sure you're going to find things out there that are going to say that, discredit what I've read and everything like that. Because remember, the internet is the internet's the bathroom wall of the world. So, just keep that in mind on what you're looking at. If you're going to look through sources, go to genuine sources. Okay, it's what I had to do whenever I was writing my papers for my master's degree. Go to genuine sources. This is the National Institute of Health, the NIH. Go to places like that. Don't go to Joe's website. Okay? Go to actual reputable sources and look up information. So what these, and will there be any more? Probably not, at least not yet, simply because of the fact that, well, this current administration kind of wiped transgender off the map, told the CDC and the NIH to stop doing any further studies on transgenderism and transgender health. Why? What is it you don't want to find out? Even the TSA website used to have a page that said safety guidelines for LGBT travelers. Now it says safety guidelines for LGB travelers. This administration is wiping out transgender. So will there be more reports like this? More studies like this? Hopefully at some point in the future, yeah. But at this point, no. So this was just a quick thing. I'm just going to end it here, a little bit over 10 minutes. But I just wanted to make sure that I got this out. What is the difference? It's not a choice being a man in a dress. You know, if I go to use a ladies' restroom, what do I identify as? I identify my brain, according to these studies, my brain and the anatomy of my brain helps me to identify as a female. So I'm using a female restroom. I'm not going in there to do anything else except use the bathroom. That's it. If you say, well, there are men in dresses that are going in there to do that, like I said before, that's a man issue, not a transgender issue. Okay? So keep that in mind as you think more about these things. So again, this was just a quick little teaser, quick little point of education, just so that, you know, I could just give you a little drop a nugget there. And that's about it. I'm going to put the links to both of these papers in the description, so you could go and you could read to your heart's content. Now, they are medical papers. One was done, the Luters one was posted in Neuroimage paper, and the Kurth one was in the Journal of Clinical Medicine. Okay, again, look up, search, by all means, just please. Go to real websites. Don't even go to Wikipedia, because anybody could go in there and change things around. Go to real websites, okay? Go to real things. Look up the NIH, the CDC, the WPATH. Just go to reputable places and look things up, okay? So I will speak to you soon. Bye-bye.